The awakening on our wedding night. My wife lay on the bed, her face twisted in disgust. Julian Thorne, my heart belongs to Adrian. If you touch me, I'll kill myself right here. I looked at her, this self-righteous martyr protecting her virtue. I laughed. Fine, I said. Then tonight, you can sleep in the doghouse. The bed is mine. I grabbed the edge of the duvet, rolled her up in it like a burrito, and kicked her, pillow and all, off the mattress. Get lost. Don't interrupt my sleep. She hit the floor with a thud, utterly bewildered. Her silk nightgown was bunched up around her waist, and she lay sprawled awkwardly on the Persian rug. Her carefully styled chestnut waves now covered half her face like dried straw. She propped herself up, her eyes, usually 3 parts coldness and 7 parts arrogance, now wide with disbelief. Julian, are you insane? She shrieked. You dare to kick me? Her voice was shrill, shattering the illusion of the ethereal goddess she pretended to be. I leaned back against the plush headboard, slowly adjusting the cuff links I'd ruffled earlier, and looked down at her. What's wrong with kicking you? I asked. Didn't you say you were going to die for me? The floor is cool. It's a good place for you to calm down and think about a more artistic way to off yourself. Evelyn Sterling trembled with rage. She pointed a finger at me, the 3-carat pink diamond engagement ring blinding under the chandelier. The previous owner of this body had spent over $2 million at auction for that rock, just to see her smile. In return, the moment she got it, she posted a photo to her private Instagram story, visible only to Adrian. Shackles. Talk about biting the hand that feeds you. Julian, don't think just because I married you that I belong to you, she screamed. Adrian and I are truly in love. My body and soul belong only to him. If you dare force me, I'll sue you for marital rape. She scrambled up from the floor, and before she could even find her balance, she began her moral grandstanding. The old Julian might have bought this act, but I certainly didn't. I reached for the silver lighter on the nightstand, flipped the lid with a clink, and watched the blue flame dance at my fingertips. Evelyn, did all those years of private school rot your brain? I asked casually. Look at this bedroom, this penthouse, even that nightgown you're wearing. Is there anything here not paid for by the Thorne family fortune? You take my money, live in my house, harbor feelings for another man, and protect your chastity for him? You call that true love? I call it being a parasite. Evelyn's face went pale, as if I'd struck a nerve, but she quickly lifted her chin, adopting that high-end mighty attitude that treated money like dirt. Money, money, money. That's all you know. Adrian was right. A merchant reeking of copper, like you will never understand love or nobility. The spiritual world Adrian and I share is something a man like you could never reach. I scoffed and snapped the lighter shut. It must be very noble. Noble enough that it required me, the man reeking of copper, to provide a $10 million dowry just to keep your family's company from bankruptcy. Noble enough that Adrian's tuition in Paris, his living expenses, and even the money for that trashy bracelet he bought you were all siphoned from my accounts. Evelyn looked like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. She exploded. Liar. Adrian is a talented artist. He would never touch your dirty money. You gave that $10 million voluntarily. You begged me to marry you. Since you don't value me, fine. Divorce. I'm leaving right now. She turned to storm out, her hand grabbing the door handle, but then she froze. She glanced back, seemingly waiting for me to do what the old Julian would have done. Run over in tears, hug her legs, and beg her not to leave. In the original script of this life, the previous owner was that pathetic. The moment Evelyn mentioned divorce, he would lose his mind, ceding territory and dignity just to keep her. Too bad. The current Julian Thorne just wanted to watch the show. I crossed my arms, watching her stiff figure at the door with amusement. Why did you stop? Open it. Go. The door isn't locked. Do you need me to call security to escort you out? Evelyn's back was as rigid as stone. Of course she didn't dare leave. The Sterling family's debt crisis wasn't fully resolved. That $10 million was just the first lifeline. They still needed the channels and resources of Thorne Enterprises. If she walked out that door tonight, the creditors would eat the Sterlings alive by tomorrow morning. She bit her lip, turning to glare at me, tears swirling in her eyes, acting as if she had suffered a supreme injustice. Julian, you've changed. You never spoke to me like this before. Do you have another woman on the side? Is that why you're humiliating me? I couldn't help it. I laughed out loud. Evelyn, your ability to gaslight is truly eye-opening. Enough. I'm tired, and I have no time for your melodrama. If you don't want to leave, then shut up. This bed is mine tonight. You can sleep on the floor, the guest room, or the doghouse. If I hear one more sound, I'll have the butler burn every designer bag you own. With that, I pulled up the duvet, turned off the bedside lamp, and lay down. In the darkness, I could hear Evelyn's heavy breathing and her suppressed sobs. She stood there for a long time, but in the end, she didn't dare slam the door and leave. I heard rustling sounds. It seemed she grabbed a spare blanket and curled up on the chaise lounge by the floor-to-ceiling window. That night, I slept incredibly well. Evelyn, however, tossed and turned on the chaise, sleepless all night. The art of humiliation. The next morning, sunlight filtered through the gaps in the heavy curtains. I opened my eyes, stretched, and felt fantastic. I glanced over. The chaise lounge was empty. It seemed Princess Evelyn had fled at the crack of dawn. I took my time washing up, changing into a bespoke suit, and adjusting my tie in the mirror. The man in the reflection had sharp brows, bright eyes, and a tall, powerful build. Top-tier genetics. It was a waste for the original owner to have been such a simp with these assets. I went downstairs to the dining room. Reynolds, the butler, had already prepared a lavish breakfast. "Good morning, sir." Reynolds pulled out my chair with practiced deference. I looked at the empty seat across the table. "Where is the lady of the house?" Reynolds looked a bit awkward and lowered his voice. "Madam left early. She said she had an appointment with a friend to see an art exhibition. She didn't even eat breakfast and took the red Ferrari from the garage." Art exhibition? More like seeing Adrian Vane. That kid had just returned to the country a couple of days ago, supposedly preparing for a solo exhibition at the City Center Gallery. Leaving her husband on the second day of marriage to see her ex-boyfriend, Evelyn really had zero fear. I took a sip of coffee, my expression calm. "Reynolds, send me the GPS location of that Ferrari. Also, notify the finance department to suspend all supplementary credit cards under Evelyn's name." Reynolds froze, nearly dropping the napkin he was holding. "Sir, all of them, if Madam is out and has no money." I set the coffee cup down, the porcelain making a crisp sound against the saucer. Doesn't she view money as dirt? Since she's so high-minded, spending my money must be painful for her. I'm doing her a favor. Oh, and check the sponsor list for Adrian Vane's exhibition. If there are any Thorne subsidiaries or affiliated companies involved, pull all funding immediately. Reynolds was shocked, but as a top-tier butler, his execution was flawless. "Yes, sir. I'll handle it immediately." After breakfast, I got into the Maybach and headed straight for Thorne Tower. On the way, my phone buzzed. A text notification from the bank. Transaction declined. Immediately after, Evelyn called. I looked at the word wife flashing on the screen, silenced it, and tossed the phone aside. I could imagine her expression. She was probably in some luxury store or gallery, holding a black card that wouldn't swipe, wishing the ground would swallow her whole. When I arrived at the company and stepped out of the elevator, a figure in business attire approached. "Good morning, Mr. Thorne." The voice was crisp and efficient. It was my private secretary, Audrey Vance. Today she wore a white silk blouse paired with a black pencil skirt. Her legs, wrapped in sheer black stockings, were straight and long. Gold-rimmed glasses perched on her nose, giving her a look that was professional yet subtly sexy. In the original owner's memory, Audrey was just a working robot. But I caught the fleeting light in her eyes when she looked at me. "Morning." I nodded slightly and strode into my office. Audrey followed closely, beginning the day's briefing. "Mr. Thorne, there is a senior executive meeting at 10 to discuss the South City Development Project. Lunch with Director Wong at noon. At 3 o'clock. She reported methodically. I sat in the large leather executive chair, my eyes lingering on her. "Audrey," I interrupted suddenly. She stopped, pushed up her glasses, and looked confused. "Yes, Mr. Thorne? Is there something you need? I recall you majored in art appreciation in college." Audrey paused, then nodded. "Yes, sir, though I later took a double degree in financial management." "Good." I smirked playfully. "Cancel the afternoon schedule. Come with me somewhere." Audrey was surprised, but maintained her professional composure. "Certainly, sir. Where are we going? Do I need to prepare anything?" I twirled the fountain pen in my hand, my tone casual. "To the City Center Gallery. I hear there's an exhibition by some unknown painter. Since my wife likes it so much, as her husband, how could I not go and show my support?" Audrey's eyes grew complex. She clearly knew about Evelyn and Adrian, and what my support implied. "Mr. Thorne, are you going to catch them in the act?" She didn't dare say the words, but her expression gave it away. I stood up, walked over to her, and looked down. The distance between us closed, and I could smell her faint gardenia perfume. "Catching them is boring," I said. "I'm going to teach them a lesson about reality, and incidentally, let you see what kind of art is actually worth money." Audrey's cheeks flushed slightly. She instinctively took half a step back, but quickly held her ground. "Yes, Mr. Thorne, I'll arrange the car." Watching her retreat in a slight panic, my mood lifted. "Evelyn, Adrian, it was time to wake up from your artistic dream. The city center gallery. The place had been booked out for the day. The entrance was filled with flower baskets, most sent by Evelyn under various names. On the poster, Adrian Vane sported long hair and a melancholic gaze, wearing a linen shirt, the very picture of an unrecognized genius. There weren't many people inside, just a sparse few, mostly shills hired by Adrian or friends dragged along by Evelyn. When I walked into the main hall with Audrey, I spotted Evelyn and Adrian standing in front of a painting. The painting depicted a woman's back, topless, with soft lines. No need to guess who the model was. Evelyn had changed into an elegant, understated dress. She stood beside Adrian, looking up at him with pure adoration. Adrian was pointing at the canvas, pontificating. Evelyn, look at the tension in these lines. This is my longing for freedom and my indictment of worldly shackles. My inspiration only dries up when I am not with you, because you are the most perfect work of art. This cheesy pickup line made my stomach churn. Behind me, Audrey couldn't hold back a snort of laughter. In the quiet gallery, it was piercingly loud. Evelyn and Adrian turned around simultaneously. Seeing me, Evelyn's face turned ghastly. She looked guiltily at Adrian, then remembered her cards being cut, and anger quickly overrode her shame. She marched toward me, her heels clicking sharply on the marble floor. "Julian, what are you doing here?" she demanded. "You have the nerve to show up? I'm asking you. Why did you cut off my cards? Do you know how humiliating it was when I tried to buy frames earlier? The transaction failed." She pointed at my nose, screaming without a care for the public setting. Adrian followed her, though he wasn't as aggressive. He looked me up and down, a flash of jealousy and disdain in his eyes, before adopting a haughty expression. "Mr. Thorne, this is a temple of art, not a place for you to discuss money. If you're here to argue, please leave. Do not tarnish my work." I ignored Evelyn's screeching and looked at Adrian with amusement. "Tarnish? Artist Vane, that's a strong word." I reached out and pulled Audrey from behind me, positioning her in front. "Secretary Vance, you're the professional. Evaluate this. How much is this painting worth?" Audrey hadn't expected to be put on the spot, but she reacted quickly. She adjusted her glasses, her gaze sweeping sharply over the painting titled "Break Free." "The composition is scattered, the color usage is painfully mediocre, and the imitation of style is heavy-handed," she critiqued coolly. "Especially the lighting, it's beginner level. If this were sold in a home decor market, it might fetch $200, frame included. But considering this is Mr. Vane's masterpiece," she paused, flashing a professional, fake smile, "I think you'd have to pay someone to take it, since it takes up too much wall space." Adrian's face turned green. He considered himself a genius. He had never been subjected to such blunt humiliation. "You vulgar Philistine, what do you know about art?" Evelyn shrieked like a banshee. "Shut up. You're just a little secretary. What right do you have to judge Adrian's work? His paintings won awards in France. Julian, is this the kind of person you employ? No class at all." I let go of Audrey and stepped forward, looming over Evelyn. "Class? Evelyn, you spend your husband's money to fund your ex-boyfriend's exhibit, and you strip naked to be his model. You call that class?" My voice wasn't loud, but it was clear enough for everyone to hear. The gallery went silent. The few passers-by turned their heads, whispering and pointing at the nude painting. "Oh my God, that's his wife. Wow, look at the size of that green hat he's wearing." Evelyn's face flushed crimson, whether from shame or anger. You're talking nonsense. That is art. It's figure study. Your mind is dirty, so you see everything as dirty." Adrian panicked too, rushing up to push me. "Julian, don't slander us. Evelyn and I are innocent." I sidestepped his weak shove and backhanded him across the face. Smack! The crisp sound echoed through the hall. Adrian spun in a circle and clutched his face, stunned. Evelyn screamed and threw herself at him. "Adrian, are you okay?" She glared at me, tears streaming down her face. "Julian, you dare hit him? I'm calling the police." I took out a wet wipe and cleaned my hand with disdain, as if I'd touched something filthy. "Police? Go ahead. It will be a good time for them to investigate where Artist Vane's living expenses in France came from. And maybe they can check if the $5 million you secretly transferred from my account counts as embezzlement of marital assets." Evelyn froze. Her eyes darted around, terrified. That was the money she had secretly wired to Adrian last month for the exhibition. She thought I never checked the accounts. Adrian clutched his face, panic in his eyes. He was pretentious, but he knew living off a rival's money wasn't a good look, legally or socially. I looked at the pair of doomed lovers and sneered. "What? Not calling the cops? Since you won't, listen closely." I raised my voice, addressing the room. Starting today, Thorn Enterprises withdraws all sponsorship for this exhibition. Venue rental, marketing materials, not a cent more. Also, that painting, I wanted a break free. Since my money bought the canvas and paint, it belongs to me. Audrey, Mr. Thorn, have someone take it down and bring it back. Hang it in the company restrooms to ward off evil spirits. Yes, sir. Audrey suppressed a smile and pulled out her phone. Evelyn shook with rage, tears falling like broken beads. Julian, you're a bully. You'll regret this. I swear I'll make you regret this. I turned to leave without glancing back. Regret? Evelyn, when you can pay back that $5 million, come talk to me about regret. Oh, and right, remember to come home tonight. Our accounting isn't finished yet. The price of romance back at the office. I breezed through a stack of documents, feeling lighter than air. Audrey brought in coffee, looking at me with a new mix of curiosity and admiration. Mr. Thorn, back at the gallery. You were very impressive. Her voice was soft. I looked up and smiled. Why? Was I not impressive before? Audrey blushed and waved her hands. No, you were always impressive, but I was too much of a doormat before, right? I finished for her. Audrey pursed her lips in a smile, silently agreeing. All right, enough flattery. How was the financial investigation into the Sterling family going? Audrey snapped back to professional mode, pulling a report from a folder. It's bad. The Sterling Group's core business has been in the red for 3 years. Their bank loans are due next month. They were counting on a new project with Thorn Enterprises to save them, but the approval is still on your desk. If there's no capital injection this week, they'll have to declare bankruptcy. I took the report, tapping my finger on the desk. Excellent. Tell the project department to sit on that approval. The reason? Tell them it failed the risk assessment. Audrey's eyes lit up. Mr. Thorn, are you planning to close the door and beat the dog? A cold glint flashed in my eyes. Evelyn is tough, isn't she? The Sterlings think they have me wrapped around their finger? I'll show them that without the Thorn family, they are nothing. Just then my phone rang. It was Evelyn's mother, my dear mother-in-law. Evelyn must have gone home to tattle. I answered, and her shrill voice pierced my ear. Julian, what's wrong with you? Evelyn came home crying, saying you cut her cards and humiliated her and Adrian in public. Are you even a man? Bullying your wife right after the wedding? Adrian is Evelyn's classmate. Theirs is a pure friendship. How can you be so narrow-minded? I held the phone away until she finished venting. Mother, are you done? Julian, what is that attitude? My attitude is simple. Since Evelyn married into the Thorn family, she follows Thorn rules. Using my money to support another man? In any era, that's grounds for severe punishment. If you think I'm narrow-minded, fine. Have Evelyn return every cent she spent on Adrian over the years with interest. It comes to $23.5 million. I'll waive the fraction, pay it back, and I'll pretend nothing happened. Silence on the other end. Over $20 million. For the current Sterling family, that was an impossible sum. My mother-in-law's momentum collapsed, her voice trembling. Well, young couples, why count pennies so clearly? Julian, Evelyn was spoiled by us. Please bear with her. I can't. I cut her off. Tell Evelyn to return to the villa tonight. If she doesn't, you can forget about the project approval tomorrow. I hung up immediately. Audrey stared, stunned, then gave me a thumbs up. Mr. Thorn, dominant. I smiled, standing to adjust my suit. Let's go. Time to clock out. I'm taking you somewhere to relax tonight. That evening, I didn't go home. I took Audrey to the Summit, a private members club. It was the playground for the city's top heirs. The old Julian rarely came here because he was henpecked and afraid Evelyn would be upset. When I walked in, the private room erupted. Yo, isn't this Julian? A rare guest. Just married and not at home with the bride? How do you have time to play? The speaker was Carter Banks, a childhood friend, currently cuddling a model. I sat down anywhere, and Audrey sat obediently beside me, pouring drinks. Don't ask. The missus is on a hunger strike. I took the glass, speaking casually. The crowd perked up. What? Is she still that high maintenance? I'm telling you, Julian, you spoil her too much. Women can't be spoiled. They'll walk all over you. Exactly. With your status, you could have anyone. Why hang yourself on one tree? They joked, words that would have made the old Julian angry, but I just smiled and listened. Suddenly, the door opened. A man in a waiter's uniform walked in carrying a tray. Long hair, melancholic eyes. It was Adrian Vane. The room went quiet. Carter had sharp eyes and recognized him instantly. Hey, isn't that? What's his name? Miss Sterling's soulmate? Adrian clearly hadn't expected to see me here. His face went pale, the tray in his hands shaking. So, the independent artist, had a bus tables at the summit to make quick cash after his gallery funding was cut. The tips here were substantial after all. I leaned back on the sofa, swirling my red wine, watching him with a half smile. Artist Vane. What a coincidence. Not painting anymore. Switching careers to experience the life of the working class. Adrian gritted his teeth, staring at me with hatred, wanting to throw the drinks in my face. But in this place, he didn't have the guts. Any guest here could crush him like an ant. Mr. Thorne, I am working part-time here. What would you like to drink? He asked stiffly, trying to salvage a shred of dignity. Carter saw the vibe and grinned wicked. Since he's Julian's friend, we must treat him well. Come on, Artist Vane, open all these bottles for Mr. Thorne. Carter pointed to a row of Louis XIII on the table. Adrian turned green, but under the manager's glaring eye, he walked over, hands trembling, to open the cognac. Crash. Maybe it was nerves or distraction, but a bottle slipped and shattered, splashing liquor all over me and Audrey. Audrey gasped, grabbing napkins to wipe my suit. Adrian froze. One bottle cost more than his living expenses for a year. The manager rushed over and slapped Adrian hard. Are you blind? Do you know how much that costs? Apologize to Mr. Thorne. Adrian clutched his face, bowing his head in humiliation. I'm sorry. Mr. Thorne, I didn't mean to. I pushed Audrey's hand away and stood up, looking at the mess. Didn't mean to? Is that it? I walked over to Adrian, my dress shoes crunching on the glass shards. Adrian, aren't these hands for holding paintbrushes, never touching dishwater? How can you not even hold a bottle? Seems you're no good at painting or waiting tables. Adrian shook, eyes red. Julian, don't bully people too much. I'll pay. I'll pay you back. Pay. I laughed. That bottle was $58,000, plus the ruined clothes and emotional distress. Let's round it to $100,000. How will you pay? Ask your starving Evelyn to pay for you. At the mention of Evelyn, hope flickered in his eyes, then dimmed. He knew Evelyn was drowning too. Suddenly, the door burst open. Evelyn rushed in, panting. She had evidently received a distress call or heard the news. Seeing Adrian on his knees, face swollen, she was heartbroken. Adrian. She rushed to help him up, turned to glare at me. Julian, are you human? Why must you target him? He just broke a bottle. I'll pay for it. She habitually reached for her card, only to remember they were all frozen. Her hand froze in midair, her expression cycling through a rainbow of emotions. Laughter rippled through the room. Carter mocked mercilessly, sister-in-law. Does the card work? Heard Julian cut you off today. Why don't you beg him? Evelyn gripped the useless plastic, knuckles white. She looked at me with humiliation and resentment. Julian, if you let Adrian go, You what? I raised an eyebrow. What leverage do you have left? Evelyn looked closely. Your proud love is worthless in the face of money. If Adrian had a spine and said he'd rather go to jail than beg me, I might respect him. But he didn't. He called you to pay the bill. This is your true love. Evelyn was stunned. She looked at Adrian. He avoided her gaze, stammering, Evelyn, I don't have the money. Evelyn swayed, her beliefs crumbling. I waved my hand like shooing a fly. Enough, you're an eyesore. Put the $100,000 on the Sterling family tab. Take your true love and get out. Evelyn gritted her teeth, supported Adrian, and fled the room under the mocking gazes of the elite. Watching them leave, I downed a glass of wine. Audrey whispered, Mr. Thorne, you're letting them go. I pinched her chin lightly. Let them go. The game has just begun. Let the bullet fly a little longer. The house of cards, Evelyn drove Adrian back to his cramped studio apartment. The drive was silent. Adrian's face was swollen, his arrogant air gone. Downstairs, Adrian grabbed Evelyn's hand. Evelyn, I'm sorry I embarrassed you today, but Julian is a bully just because he has money. Evelyn looked at the man she had once been obsessed with. A wave of exhaustion hit her. Before, she thought his poverty was noble. Today, seeing him cowering over a bill, she realized for the first time, money really matters. It's okay. Rest. She pulled her hand away. I'm going back. Evelyn. Adrian panicked, hugging her. Don't go. Do you despise me now? I swear I'll succeed. Once my art is famous, I'll pay back every insult. Help me one more time. Beg Julian to restore the sponsorship. Evelyn stiffened. She pushed him away, staring in disbelief. What did you say? Ask me to beg Julian? Do you know how he humiliated me today? Adrian's eyes darted away. I know. But Evelyn, only you can help. You said you'd do anything for me. Our future depends on this exhibition. Evelyn looked at his desperate face and felt he was a stranger. Where was the man who read poetry by the saying, Adyan, I'm tired? She backed away, got her car, and didn't look back. She arrived at the penthouse late at night. The living room was bright. I was on the sofa reviewing a file. Audrey sitting close beside me, peeling an apple. It was an intimate scene. Evelyn saw this and exploded. "Julian, you brought this slut home? Have you no shame?" I didn't look up, taking a bite of the apple Audrey offered. "My house. Do I need your permission? And you, coming back this late. Did you tuck your true love in for the night?" Evelyn rushed over and slapped the apple from my hand. "Julian, we aren't divorced yet. This is adultery." I watched the apple roll across the carpet, my eyes turning cold. "Audrey, pick it up." "Yes, sir." As Audrey bent down, Evelyn stomped on the apple, crushing it. "I dare you. Julian, explain yourself." I stood up, gripping Evelyn's jaw, forcing her to look at me. "Explain?" "Evelyn, understand the situation. The Sterlings are begging me, not the other way around. Since you have so much backbone, let's settle the bill." I threw the file in her face. "This is evidence of the Sterling Group's financial holes and your embezzlement of funds for Adrian. Plus tonight's 100 grand. Total, 25 million. If the money isn't in my account by morning, you can deliver prison food to Adrian." Evelyn looked at the scattered papers, trembling. "Embezzlement. That was a felony." She thought I'd never notice. You monitored me. I'm protecting my assets." I wiped my hand. "Evelyn, I gave you a chance. Tonight, either sign the divorce papers and leave with nothing, or stay and behave as Mrs. Thorne. Don't test my patience." Evelyn collapsed on the floor, weeping. She knew it was over. Without the Thorne shield, her family would fall, and she would face jail. And Adrian couldn't save her. I won't divorce," she whispered. "No divorce." I looked down at her with a cruel smile. "Fine. Then starting today, stay home. You are grounded." And I glanced at Audrey. "Fire the maids. Evelyn will do the housework. Since you don't want to be a socialite, try being the help." Evelyn looked up in horror. "Me? Housework? My hands are for art." "Art?" I scoffed. "Your hands are only good for swiping credit cards. Don't want to do it? Then get out and go to jail." Evelyn bit her lip until it bled. She looked at me, then at the composed Audrey, and finally bowed her head. I'll do it." The following days were hell for Evelyn. The villa was huge. Just sweeping broke her back. Her hands grew rough, nails breaking. I directed the company with Audrey by day and critiqued Evelyn's work by night. "Floors dirty. Do it again. Food salty. Trash it. Shirts wrinkled. Do you want it to look like a slob?" She swallowed her pride every time. She tried calling Adrian, but his phone was disconnected. Later, she learned that upon hearing the Sterlings were bankrupt and Evelyn was under house arrest, Adrian bought a standing room train ticket and fled. Rumor had it he went back to his hometown to marry the daughter of a wealthy landowner. Hearing this, Evelyn was scrubbing the stairs. She sat there and wailed. I watched from the balcony, unmoved. "Done crying?" I asked coldly. She looked up, eyes swollen. "Julian, Adrian left. He abandoned me." "Oh," I said. "Wasn't that expected? Only a fool like you treated him like treasure." She crawled up the stairs, grabbing my pant leg. "Julian, I was wrong. I really know now. Forgive me. I'll be a good wife." Looking at her groveling, I felt nothing. She was pathetic. "Evelyn, too late. A broken mirror is just broken glass. I have zero interest in you. The housework was just to make you face reality. Tomorrow, the lawyer brings the papers. I'll pay off some of the Sterling debt. Consider it payment for your services. The rest is your problem." Evelyn was stunned. "Julian, you can't. I love you. I realized I actually love you." "Love." I stood up. "Don't insult the word. You love my money and the title of Mrs. Thorne. Pack your bags and get out." Story complete. Evelyn signed the papers. The day she left, she took one suitcase of old clothes. No box, no utility. Those belonged to Mrs. Thorne, which she no longer was. The gates closed behind her, shutting her out of paradise. The Sterling Group went bankrupt. Evelyn's father ended up in the ICU. To pay medical bills, Evelyn became a bottle girl at a nightclub. I heard she was popular with the rich kids who enjoyed the novelty of a fallen princess. Carter told me later, "You should have seen her, kneeling to pour my drink. She asked to borrow money. Is this karma?" I just smiled. Everyone pays for their choices. As for Adrian, his new wife was a tough woman. Adrian lived a miserable life, serving her family. When he tried to sneak off to paint, his wife smashed his supplies and broke his hand. The artist Vane was dead. Only a broken-handed house husband remained. 6 months later, at the Thorne Group Victory Gala, I stood in the spotlight with Audrey on my arm. She was now the vice president, confident and radiant. "Mr. Thorne, congratulations on the South City project." She raised her glass. I clinked mine against hers. Congratulations to you too, VP Vance. Tonight, my place. Audrey blushed, but nodded. In the corner, a waitress stared blankly at us. It was Evelyn. She was thin, sallow, her glory gone. Seeing our intimacy, tears rolled down her face. If only, but there are no if-onlys in life. I glanced at her, then looked away. She was just a passerby in my story. That night, in the master bedroom, Audrey wore the nightgown Evelyn had once despised. Julian, she whispered. I kissed her, giving all my tenderness to the woman who deserved it. Outside, the moon was bright. Everything was just right. Story complete.